What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mr.Merleb. Thank you for joining me today. As a lot of you may know, I have been a really big Pokemon fan my entire life, and for some reason or another, as a kid, when I collected the cards, I thought they were too pretty to actually play with, so I barely played with any of my cards. I just thought they were so gorgeous that I put them in a little case. Some of you may have heard it's been getting really popular, so I figured I would go over part of my collection with you today. So all the way back in 1998, there was the base set that came out, but shortly afterward, 1 year afterwards, with the popularity of the base set, Pokemon started introducing more and more sets. The next one was the Jungle set. So today what I'm going to go over with y'all is actually the Jungle first edition set from 1999. So let's go in order, starting with the first one of the set, starting with Clefable. As you can see, it's a first edition card, so that's kind of what you're looking for if you are a collector. And the cool thing about a lot of the sets is that they come in holographic and non-holographic. So I'd love to know what y'all think is the better looking card, because personally I think that some of the artwork can actually be seen a lot better when they're not holographic, but there's definitely still a very special place in my heart for all the holographic cards. Alright, next we have Mr. Electrode himself. So I don't know why this card did not get as much love in the past, but I've always been a big Electrode fan. I thought he was really cool, and it was a cool concept to think that there was a Pokemon you could encounter in the game where you thought you were just picking up an item, but it was actually a Electrode or a Voltorb because it looked like a Pokeball. So the fun fact about Electrode in this set is that there were actually two prints variations of the same card, and for some reason this was the only one that was available in first edition, and then later on in the Unlimited set, as you notice there's no first edition sign right here, they introduced the Electrode that looked like the holographic card but wasn't holographic. So which one do you guys prefer? Alright, next we are going into the Eeveelution. So this is a big fan favorite for a lot of people, the Eevees. As some of you may know, Eevee is a really versatile Pokemon. It can evolve into all sorts of different elemental Pokemon: fire, electric, water, ice, darkness, all sorts of different ones. A lot of people really like the fire one. So as you can see, this is the non-holo. And again, you can really see the artwork in the non-holo one. Just you can see the variety of colors that they used. And I always thought it was absolutely gorgeous in the non-holo. And let's take another look at this holographic one right here. Beautiful, beautiful card. Alright, continuing on with the Eevee family, we have Jolteon himself. And there are some very rare versions of this card where accidentally the jungle symbol was not printed on the card. And some really high-end collectors will try to find those. There was only a small percentage of the print run that didn't have the actual jungle set printed on them. But regardless, again, if you look at the art style with the non-holo, there's just something very special about them. Really special. Up next, we have Kangaskhan. So I thought this was always very interesting because Kangaskhan was one of the first Pokemon where when you capture it, you actually are catching two technically because of the baby in the little pouch. So I was always kind of confused by that, like why there wasn't a baby version of Kangaskhan. I still think they should add that in the game, where you have like a mini version, a baby version of Kangaskhan, and then it should evolve into this one. Interesting fact about the non-holo version of Kangaskhan is if you look closely, you can tell that the artwork is very pixelated. So I don't know if that was intentional or if that was because they were still somewhat new to printing cards. But if you look at it, you can tell that it's definitely not high resolution, But when you look at the holographic, that seems to really not matter because it kind of like blurs out with the shininess. Okay, moving on, we have Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime, I thought this card was very pretty because part of the card is almost pitch black, as you can tell. You can only really see the holographic portion in his in that yellow portion right there where he's doing his attack. And then same thing with the non-holo version. If you look at it, it's pitch black on the sides with his attack, which I think is a barrier move or an invisible wall right there, where you can actually see what's going on. Just gorgeous cards, really. All right, up next we have Nidoqueen. So Nidoqueen was a really cool Pokemon, and fun fact on Nidoqueen is that back in the day she actually used to be drawn with fangs, and for some reason or another they decided to get rid of her fangs, and as you can see, like, she doesn't have any fangs right here. In some old artwork she definitely did. So this is another really good example of how the non-holo kind of demonstrates a little bit more artwork in the background. It's almost like she's in a field of flowers or rocks. I'm not sure what that is. I always thought that was kind of like a field of flowers. So next up we have Pidgeot. And with Pidgeot, what was interesting is in the base set, you only got up to Pidgeotto, which was the non-holographic rare, but they decided to add Pidgeot in Jungle set where it was the holographic rare. So very interesting that they did that. I always wondered why they didn't have Pidgeot in the base set. All right, next we're moving back into the bug Pokemon. This one is Pincer right here. Fun memory about Pincer is that if, for anyone who is a fan of the show, one of the episodes where Ash was fighting a bug catcher and he had a Pincer and all Ash had was a Metapod, and Metapod used Harden, and when Pincer tried to crush him, he actually ended up starting to damage himself on the Metapod. So I always think of that when I look at this card right here. And if we take a little peek at the non-holo, again, there seems to be more action, more energy in the card, more colors, but people really like the holographic just because of how shiny they are. Moving on next, I know this is a fan favorite. I know some people out there who really love Cyther. And I always thought he was a really cool Pokemon just because he almost had like swords on his arms and he just looks so aggressive and cool. And I feel like the design of all the Kanto region Pokemon have really, you know, aged well and are still really awesome. Again, look, if you look at the non-holo, it almost looks like it's spinning in a circle. You can kind of see that energy and some light beams coming off in the background, almost like he's in a forest or something like that. Really gorgeous colors. I love how green this card is. All right, next up is the big boy himself. It is Snorlax. And for anyone who is a fan of the game, I'm sure that they remember Snorlax blocking the road and just being asleep and not knowing how to get that Snorlax out of the way. The answer was that you had to find a Pokeflute, and when you played the Pokeflute, it actually woke him up and you had one chance to catch Snorlax. So Snorlax was actually kind of a very rare Pokemon in the first generation of games, and I think the card itself is very pretty. It's all white. I really think there's something to be said for the normal type back in the day. Really gorgeous with the holographic. And again, this is the non-holo version. I feel like not everyone gets the chance to see both. And there you have it. We are going back to the Eevee family. So now we did the fire, the electric, and now we are going with Vaporeon, the water type. So with Vaporeon, it's almost like he has a bunch of bubbles in the background. I love the pose. It's almost like he's just very calm, casually looking up. Very gorgeous, gorgeous looking card. Look at the line work on the tail itself. I just really, really like this card. I've always appreciated it. I love how centered it is. And again, this is the non-holographic version where you can really see all the bubbles and colors that they use, the thought process behind it. Really interesting and unique looking card. We are going back to the bug world with Venomoth over here. So Venomoth, I always thought it was interesting with Venomoth because it evolves from Venonat, but in my opinion, Venonat kind of looks like it evolves into Butterfree more than Venomoth, but that was kind of just an opinion I had for a long time, and I feel like other people have thought that as well. And here's the non-holographic version where you can tell that there's a lot of scenery in the background, a lot of bushes and greenery. Really, really cool contrast between the two. You can kind of still see it on this one actually. They did a good job of translating this one. Really beautiful looking card. Up next we have Victreebel, which is a really interesting Pokemon. It's designed after the carnivorous plants that we see out in the Amazon and rainforest and things like that. Jesse and James from Team Rocket have a Victreebel, and they're always getting into trouble where James is ending up being almost eaten by his own Pokemon. So I always thought it was kind of a funny dynamic for them too. And again, if you see, this is what I'm talking about with the non-holographic cards, you kind of get a better sense of the environment of where this Pokemon lives. So it almost looks like a marshland, you know, with moss growing on the trees, and it really looks like it's in its own habitat. Going back to the Holo, checking out those shiny stars everywhere. Gorgeous card. We're gonna continue on with the plants. So these last two cards are very fitting to be part of Jungle because just like there was the carnivorous plant, there is also Vileplume, who I believe is designed after the largest known plant in the rainforest. I forget the exact name of that flower, but it's a huge flower that has very similar features to Vileplume. And another fun fact is my girlfriend kind of fell in love with Oddish when we first started playing Pokemon, and so this was one of her first fully evolved Pokemon that she played with. And it's really, really funny because when you play with Vileplume in the game, the flower is so big that you can hardly see the opponent because it just takes up the entire camera. So really, really funny. And look at these 1998 graphics right here. Awesome how much they're trying. And then same thing if you go into the non-holo. Look at that design right there. You can tell it's almost like radiating some scent, because that's what Vileplume is known for. See, if you read the Pokedex entry at the bottom, it says the larger its petals, the more toxic pollen it contains. Its big head is heavy and hard to hold up. So that's really what it's known for, is just, you know, poisoning or putting asleep or paralyzing its opponent. Very useful in the Pokemon game. Gorgeous card. And last but not least, we have Wigglytuff. So Jigglypuff is very famous. I'd say Wigglytuff is not as known to most people, but it's just the evolution of Jigglypuff. And this is the final card in the Jungle set. So really cool dynamic card. I feel like it's probably one of the most underrated cards, underappreciated cards rather, in the set. And there it is in non-holo. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite card was. Let me know which card you thought was prettier in holographic or which card you thought was prettier in non-holographic. I'm really curious to know if I'm the only one who thinks that some are better than others in non-holo. That being said, thank you as always for watching, and until next time, peace.